Hello, everyone, and welcome to the showcase on the importance of having an environmental policy. My name is Albert Henkel. I work at Surfnet, which is the Dutch NREN, and I'm also part of the GÉANT Green Team. And in this Green Team, we uh, work on green ICT and how NRENs can work with environmental issues. And one of the things that we have developed in this Green Team is an environmental policy template for NRENs to develop their own environmental policy. And that's what I want to talk to you about in this showcase. So let's see if my keyboard is working. No, it's not, but this will work. So what is an environmental policy? For us, an environmental policy is a public statement which is published on a website and is considering is consisting of a sort of a motivational part and a general part on which you discuss environmental issues that relate to your NREN and a number of statements. And the idea behind an environmental policy is mainly to be transparent about how your NREN is considering the environment in your activities. One thing I haven't mentioned is that we have a chat window, and feel free to drop a message or a question in the chat window. I plan to just go through the presentation first and then attend to whatever messages or questions you have dropped in the chat. I hope that's okay with you. If not, I'll see it appear in the chat as well. So, like I said, we have developed an environmental policy template, and again, the idea is to make it really easy to create an environmental policy for an NREN. And it's not our goal is to have all NRENs that all NRENs have their own environmental policy. It's not actually necessary to use the template, but it really makes it easy for an NREN. And the idea here is that you can get from the template a sort of a motivational part and a number of statements that action statements or principles that concern your office or your services or the community that you serve. And the template just offers a number of statements, like 20 or so, and then you just pick and choose the statements that that you like or that fit your own situation. And then you have your environmental policy. And here are some example statements. This is from the office part, and here you can see that, for example, you can choose whether you want to report on your environmental footprint and be transparent about how it's built up, or that you support your staff in the use of sustainable transport for commuting and work-related travel. So there are a number of issues that you can attend to in this environmental policy that you can publish about, and these are statements that help you give guidance to these topics. So again, the purpose from our perspective is to show how your NREN is considering the environment in its activities. It's not necessarily something that you have to be ambitious about, but it's important that you be transparent and make a start with such an environmental policy and then build up from there. So why do we think that an environmental policy is important for an NREN? Well, we started with the idea of having a shared sustainability policy for the whole community, but that aroused some confusion because sustainability is in some minds a confusing word. For me, it really relates to also considering the environment in all your activities. But not only the environment, also social aspects and economic aspects. But for others, it was just the economic part or just being able to survive. So it seems that the word sustainability is confusing for some people. And maybe it's just because we use the word too much. The word sustainable is unsustainable. But really, if we look at where it came from, and I think this is the definition that is most used in the world, the Brundtland Definition, and it says that sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So it's really about balancing the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations. So balancing the needs of the present with the needs of the future generations. It's not necessarily diminishing our own capabilities or something, but really considering what the impact we have on the future. So it's really about long-term survival. But what does that mean? What does this long-term survival mean? Like I said, then we come to the people, planet, profit phrase, and that's all about considering economic aspects, so that you have enough wealth to be able to do the things that you need to do, or that organizations or countries can survive, basically. Balance those aspects with social aspects, so that people have a normal and good life. A fulfilling life, and also consider how our activities impact the earth, so the ecological aspects. And in between these three aspects, you see the word sustainable. So it's really a balance between these three pillars. Unfortunately, the world is out of balance. I think most people would agree with me that the focus is mostly on the economic aspects, and depending on in which country you live in, the social aspects are considered as well, but the environmental aspects are usually not given a high priority. And I think this is something that will be becoming more important as we proceed, because we are really consuming the reserves of our planet, and this will affect how future generations can attend to their needs. And when I talk to people about sustainability or the environmental aspects of our activities, then everyone thinks it's important, but as soon as it comes closer and means that you have to change your behavior, or maybe invest a little bit money to change this behavior, then it becomes harder. So we like to have the balance, but it shouldn't cost any money. But maybe, and it's something that we believe in at the GÉANT Green Team, maybe ICT can help. And I want to show you a little bit about how ICT can do that. So I want to show you the magic of ICT. First of all, ICT can make things disappear. We all know, well, I think most people know that we used to have these physical carriers, CDs, cassette tapes, where we played our music from, and now it's more and more MP3s, or even YouTube videos or whatever. So the physical resources that we needed for playing music is something that has shifted to the digital world. So the physical resources that that disappeared, and we don't need them anymore. And the same is true for a number of processes where we used to use a lot of paper, and all these things we can shift to the virtual world. So the pressure on the natural resources can become smaller if we use ICT in a smart way. ICT can make things go faster. And a really easy example is, of course, email compared to normal mail, where we are used to that if we send a postcard to someone, it takes a day or two if it's in the same country, and many more days if we send it across the world. But for email, these boundaries are disappearing, these physical boundaries. So it doesn't matter if we send it to someone next door or to someone across the world. It's arriving at the same time. Also, ICT can make communication virtually free and limitless, and this is also again about disappearing boundaries. And here the example is web lecturing, where students can watch lectures anytime, anywhere, so they don't have to travel to college to attend a lecture. and they don't have to be on time, so they can be really can you really watch the lectures at the time that where they are the most efficient. And all this, for me, the conclusion is that ICT can save time and resources. But the issue then is, what do we do with this, the time and the materials that we have saved in these activities? Should we just do more of the same? Should we just send more emails instead of what we used to do in postcards and letters? Or should we put those extra resources on another side of the balance? So if we take a look at how we use ICT in our activities and we use it in a smart way, we can mitigate up to 16% of total global emissions. So if we, so yes, this means that the ICT footprint increases a little bit, but the impact it can have on the total global emissions can be much larger, as you can see in this graph. So this is what we think. Wouldn't it be nice to have a greener, more balanced world through the smart use of ICT? So where we can have 1,000 times more energy efficient networks, where we roster for students instead of teachers, so that students have to travel less instead of teachers, where the balance is, of course, much better for the environment. Where we can work and use our time efficiently while our car drives us to our destination safely. And we save a little bit of time and hopefully spend it more at home instead of at work. Where we can use ICT to enable smart grids and virtual power plants to create a stable and resilient and low carbon power network. Where MOOCs can enable high quality education all around the world. So it's not only about environmental sustainability, but also about social sustainability. Where drones and birds live peacefully side by side. So I believe we have to show the world what ICT can do for sustainability. And we think that NRENs are ideally positioned between the ICT sector, our clients, the higher education, and society to do so. But we have to start with ourselves, with getting ourselves more environmentally aware. So why not start with an environmental policy? So I hope I convinced you a little bit about how to why we should have an environmental policy, and if you really want to work with it, you can download the template at this URL and go ahead. And it's and if we have time left, I can show you the template and walk you through a little bit. But maybe I should look at the chat window first. So here's a question from Gerard van Westrine. Are there any plans to evaluate the policy and exchange good practices? I think that would be a nice follow-up for the Green Team. It's not something that we, our focus is really on pushing the environmental policy and getting NRENs to create one, and if we get enough movement there, then this would be a logical step to evaluate the policies and exchange good practices. It's, I think what's nice about an environmental policy is that it creates a shared language, and that it becomes easier to exchange those good practices. Yep. I'm seeing someone, seeing Nadia typing, so just waiting a little bit about what she wants to say. But if anyone has questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat, and I'll try to answer them. If not, then I'm going to show you the template. Again, I want to point out that it's not necessary to use the template to create your own environmental policy. It's just something that we feel makes it really easy to create one. Yes, Yes, if you go to the URL that's displayed on the slide, and you'll see a number of NRENs that already have published their existing policies. I think there's about 7 there or so, and I know that there are at least 4 or 5 coming. So we really are getting some movement there, so that's good to see, and hopefully this showcase will convince more NRENs to do the same. So let me just show you the template. If I scroll down quickly to past the introduction to the template itself. So this is basically, this is basically it. It's just 2 blocks, a piece of motivation with a general statement and a number of practical statements below. And if you go beyond, here's an example of a motivation that you can just copy paste if you like. And then there are a number of statements here that we have listed. And you can see the statements, they not only focus on your own organization, but also on the, delivering your services in a green way, and helping the higher education community use green ICT, and even a little bit broader is doing good for society, which is maybe when you really mature something that you would like to consider. And again, I think that many NRENs already do consider the environment in their activities, and it's just something to write down. For example, many NRENs have video conference services for their institutions, and this is typically a green service that is being delivered, so that's good. And you can just use that as in your environmental policy. We also added some examples for each statement to give you some general idea about what the statement is about. And finally, at the very end, we created an example policy where we just copy pasted the motivation that we've shown you in the previous chapter, and all the statements. And if you like, you can copy paste this example policy and just take out the statements that you don't consider, and so that you have the statements that apply to your NREN, and then you have your policy. And I think it could be finished in 5 minutes. So hopefully that's good enough for you. So yeah, that's what I want to share with you in this session. The floor is open for more questions if you like. If not, I would like to thank you for your attention, and feel free to contact us. The team is, let me see, yes, here. Just an email to contact us, contact the whole team, or if you want to contact me personally, you can use my own email address as well.
Okay, well, so Albert can't hear me, so he's now not knowing what's going on. But if anybody has any questions, please go ahead and type them in. If you're happy with what you've seen, then just feel free to close down the window. This will be...
typing, but now he's typing again, so just waiting to see.
And so yeah, if you're happy, then you just feel free to leave the room, and this will be recorded and put onto the GÉANT TV YouTube channel for future use.
Tell a little bit more about how it's available, but I think it's published on YouTube, free for anyone to see. So great. GÉANT TV is I think the YouTube user or channel or whatever it's called. All right. Well, I think that's it. So thanks everyone, and hopefully talk to you soon.